Check, check. Oh, it works. It works. We're live. We're live. Back with a Khorne wind farming multiplayer stream. Amazing. Some mild technical difficulties at the start. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it means that I cut it from the VOD. But if you do, then yeah, then you know what's up. All right. Anyways, today we're gonna be playing some multiplayer matches as good old wonderful Khorne. Now, I'm of the opinion that Khorne is one of the strongest, if not the easily the strongest faction in the game right now. And that is because Khorne has some very, very strong units that can win in melee. So if you take a look over here, first things first, this is basically your bread and butter build as Khorne. Never mind, that guy just left. We'll get the bread and butter build loaded up, and then we'll play a bit of that, and then I'll start memeing it up with the reinforcements a bit, but I expect some pretty straightforward wins today. Let's see, there we go. Alright, nice. Just putting up a message for anyone on my Discord that wants to watch. But yeah, we're going to be trying some bread and butter Khorne builds today. The way it's going to work is that Khorne will be spamming out a ton of Chaos Spawn and a ton of Exalted Bloodletters with a lot of very elite infantry too. That's a general idea. So if I go over here, it's going to be the Herald with Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught on the Juggernaut. We'll also take ourselves we'll take 2 cultists. There we go. And the cultists are going to have some pretty standard kit. They may or may not be on horses, but they'll definitely have the Gates of Khorne ability. I will then go ahead and take a whole bunch of spawn. And the Hellforged host too. Oh, there goes our opponent again. Will we ever find an opponent? I think not. I think not. Maybe everyone just hates Khorne. Anyways, I'll get into that in a second. How's it going, guys? Is everything all right? Yeah, when we started the stream, my microphone was not cooperating. But it looks like everything's good now. By the way, how's the audio for the game? Is the audio balance right? I did do a bit of shifting yesterday, so audio might be a little bit different from usual. Feel free to let me know if there's anything you'd like changed. I can pretty easily tweak the settings. But if the sound in game is sort of good, then we should be fine. They're dodging me for their precious ladder rank. They should be playing me, you know? If they manage to get a win, they get so many points. I see no problem with that. Alright, nice. Maybe we should change our name. We should change our name so that they don't know that we are Enticity. Surely I'm not that fearful of a name, right? Have I finally made enough of a name for myself where people are dodging me so? We'll see. We'll see. So starting off, our opponent's going to be going for the Ogre Kingdoms. Ogre Kingdoms, generally a pretty strong faction. But they do lack in the ability to actually kill off many of our... let's see, I usually go this type of build because it lines up with the money really well. But the Hellforged Host is really good. Really, really good. I would love to find a way to slip them in. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I have made a name for myself. Am I finally famous, guys? Has it been done? Oh yeah, these guys want to be on foot, and then I think if we get rid of this guy, and then I go ahead and grab me 2 halberds. There we go. This feels pretty good. Nice. Go ahead and change our banners real quick. And then our reinforcements is basically just like a ton of halberds, only a couple dogs, and like 1 or 2 furies maximum. But other than that, you basically just want to max out on spawn as Khorne. Spawn and a whole whack load of infantry usually. Nice. I have a little bit of extra money. Usually, if you do have extra money, there's a few ways you can spend it. I think in this case, I'll go for the dual weapons since they're They're a little bit chunkier, and then I think we're fine. Here we go. Do you think the double cultist meta needs a nerf? It depends on what you mean by needs a nerf. I think cultists, in general, though, as a general statement, I think they could be nerfed a little bit. Right now, summons are still very, very strong. But yeah. Yeah, the problem is that every faction sort of has summons, so they all feel the same. I would hope that we see a bit more unit type diversity when Warhammer 3 comes out. By the way, I have a fan on in the background, and it may be blowing directly into the microphone. If you guys can hear that, let me know, and I'll turn it to the side. Would you say Khorne is a good beginner faction for multiplayer? Yes, Khorne is one of the strongest factions, but also one of the easiest to learn. So I would recommend trying them out. Yeah, they're quite fun. They're quite fun and straightforward. So yeah, and there's a lot of areas to improve too. It's not like they're just a basic, you know, A-move faction. They have a lot going on. You'll also be seeing a lot of sort of the general play style here on how to play Khorne correctly. Generally, you don't want to move out until the capture points unlock. That's usually the way of things, because most factions will actually trade up into you, and you don't wanna trade early if the enemy's gonna trade faster. So I'm gonna be playing it nice and safe. We'll secure maybe one of the points once the capture points unlock, and then it'll mostly be a big fight over here. This area is quite nice for ranged type factions, so ogres really enjoy this wide open field where they can shoot at me. So I probably won't be capturing this point anytime soon. What makes spawn so good for Khorne? Well, they have infantry capture weight, which means that they'll steal points before the battle is even decided on a capture point. But not only that, they will also decide the battle eventually because they trade incredibly well. They have really high damage, pretty nice stats, and even though they don't have a lot of melee defense, they're unbreakable, which means that naturally they're going to be sticking around a lot longer than other infantry. Why dual weapons instead of halberds? These guys will do about the same damage that halberds do against ogres, but they'll kill Noblars a tiny bit faster. That's basically the only reason, though. Honestly, chevron halberds do just as well against ogres, so don't be afraid about taking those guys. I just took these guys, you know, just for fun, because I had some extra money, essentially. Don't read into that too much. But yeah, while we wait, it looks like he's going for the double point capture. I think this means we're fairly safe to go for this single point, since I don't want my opponent to steal that. And then I can start positioning my troops to attack from multiple angles. The goal for taking this middle area is that we have 3 lanes of attack. If I can draw... Oh, I don't have my drawing tool. I didn't enable it yet in my settings. Well, we have 3 points of attack, essentially attacking through this side lane, this middle lane, and this flank. Allows us to get basically a full engagement against the ogres here. Altadon't saying finally, as you've been waiting for the Khorne wind farming. Yeah, I do plan to get a few more wind farming streams going. They are not forgotten. I just wanted to play some campaign for a little bit was all. And yeah, the primary units that we're summoning at the start are units that trade very well, since we still have quite a bit of battle before things end here. So we want units that will trade slightly better if there's a lot more time to sort of waste. So that means that I will be going for Khorne, halberds, exalted bloodletters, in the order of... I said Khorne. Spawn first, then bloodletters, then chaos warriors. Generally is the way that you want to go with it. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Spawn are great because they'll trade up into basically everything. And you know what? I will summon the halberds first. Even though they technically trade worse, they're slower than the bloodletters, and I want all my guys to basically show up at the same time. And this will definitely help it. So my opponent is playing quite aggressively here in this sort of valley. And I believe I can make a good trade here. He has some units on the flank, which means his army will be smaller than usual. And if I can manage to pick a fight here and now, I should be able to do quite well for myself. He is going to be keeping his man-eaters here engaged to try and shoot my cultists to death, but that will allow me to get a nasty summon on top of them, and this should buy me some time for my spawn to get in there and start doing a lot of damage. I also summoned some dogs. The reason I did that is because in the moment of the engagement, you want to get as many units fighting at the same time as possible. And in this case, the best way to do that is to make sure that I actually have units arriving fast enough. If I summon infantry, they'd be here a little bit late, and that could possibly lead me to having a weaker fight here. I expect to trade up in this situation, which is why I'm attacking so early. If I thought I would trade down, I would definitely move in a little bit later. Yeah, Ogres wind farming is next. I'm quite excited for it. The Man-Eaters, by the way, is a very common unit that you see against Khorne. If you ever have problems with them, you use foot cultists. These guys have silver shields. They'll block the shots of the Man-Eaters, and they can summon directly behind them to get a whole ton of damage or force them to retreat. And if they're retreating, that's a very expensive unit that is not shooting. And as long as they're not shooting, you're getting value because of course, how expensive they are. So now that I'm actually starting to win this because of my dog summons, I can now start to consider using summoning in infantry. This is generally what you want to do. Once you actually have a lead in the battle, the infantry is great because they will maintain your lead. If I summon in dogs, they would certainly help faster, but they don't trade nearly as well into ogres, so I don't exactly want to use them right away. And nice. The superior capture weight of the spawn and infantry is going to be stealing the point at a pretty good time for us too, because it means that if we manage to hold 2 points for the rest of the battle, our opponent will end up losing the game. So I think we're fairly good now. There we go. Point is captured, and in fact, I think I'll even send my halberds onto this far point, just because of how much of a nuisance they are to actually deal with. My opponent's gonna have to summon a lot more guys than me, just to deal with these halberds. So I think that's quite good. Looks like he's sending some Noblars to deal with this. I can clean them up with my dogs, and then we should have the win. How's the new PC? New PC is amazing. I'm loving it. It's done really well for me. There are a few issues in that I think setting it to hibernate seems to be working a lot worse than my old PC. I might just have to do a Windows shutdown. But overall, I think it's quite nice. Now, real quick, I have the option to summon Furies. I'm not going to summon them because I would much rather have infantry. I still have the lead and victory points, which means I don't need to be arriving in this battle very quickly. And there we go. With a little bit of waiting, I can summon the halberds, but even better than that, I think I prefer the exalted bloodletters. I'm going to wait for those guys instead. It's a little bit of a scarier play, but I think I have enough forces here where they really don't need more assistance. And this single unit of dogs is going to stop my opponent from capturing this. Yeah, the Chaos Spawn have done amazingly. We'll look at their values after, but you guys will see they are so good. In fact, because I have a unit of Chaos Spawn again, I'm going to resummon them. And I'm going to send them for this far capture point. If you want to ever steal a point from your opponent, a single unit of infantry plus a unit of spawn is the way to go. You'll also notice I'm spamming this ability a lot instead of, this Blade of Khorne or Relentless Rage. That's just because I'm pretty sure this deals the most damage out of all of them. Yes, it is a buff spell, but in general, these other two abilities don't have that much battlefield impact for how much it actually costs to use them. So I'll just sort of be skipping on those. But nice. Looks like we'll be able to capture this far point in a second. We are leading heavily in victory points now. And I think I just summoned my Exalted Bloodletter and we have the win. For Khorne indeed, Nizo. I just really want to wait for these Exalted Bloodletters. It's going to take a hot second. These Man-Eaters too have been, they've been alive for the entire time. So they have actually been able to to do quite well for themselves. But in the end, their battlefield impact is a little bit too low. You can see they've only used like half of their ammo, and that's because I've been constantly sending units their way to keep them occupied. My opponent also summoned a ton of a bunch of units to capture this point. This is totally fine by me since I'm about to capture point number 1, which means that there really shouldn't be like too much of a problem. Of course, I could send units here to stall my opponent to capture, but that would be a bit of an inefficient trade for me because I'd have to summon a bunch of dogs and Chaos Furies, which naturally, as we've stated earlier, will trade down. So we definitely don't want to do that. Instead, I'll just sort of hang back over here. We'll steal this point a little bit faster than my opponent's going to get the other point. Very nice. The man-eaters are getting shut down, and now I just have to hunker down. I think halberds will be great in this area, as we are seeing some Nobblar trappers. And over here, my spawn and halberd mix should be more than enough to kill off these ogres and capture the point at the same time. Very, very nice, and there we go. There's the capture. Are you enjoying the head-to-head campaigns, by the way? Head-to-head campaigns are great, yeah. Well, you know, I'm streaming that on a weekly basis. So if I wasn't enjoying it, that would be quite the surprise. Yeah, head-to-head campaigns are great. They're really nice. The synchronous turns are amazing. Been a long journey since the Eltharion challenge. Indeed. Oh my gosh. That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago indeed. Nice. It looks like my opponent is going very hard on this capture point. This is fine by me. I'll be able to reinforce this quite dramatically in a second here as soon as I'm able to actually get my... Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how this fight's gonna go. He's sending in some guys here, but yeah, I should be able to reinforce this very hard with a spawn summon. The spawns are going to ensure this is basically never gonna die. The halberds mean I'll basically never lose this point. And over here, I think I will lose my bloodletters, unfortunately, but that's okay. That's all right. The middle point's more than well enough secured with the single halberd unit, and I'm not going to be too greedy on this capture point 1. It would just be too much of an investment to go for that. I'd much rather just hang out here. Hang out here and just make it impossible for my opponent to steal any points from me. Question. In a head-to-head campaign on very hard battle difficulty, do enemy combat perks persist once human opponents take control of the army? I have no idea. That's a very specific question. Yeah. No idea in the slightest. By the way, at the end of the game, you want to, of course, worry about value less and just securing the point. So I'm just going to summon some dogs here to make sure he doesn't get this. Though at this point, I could AFK and I think we would still win. Very, very nice. House Cat of War. You played well. But the power of Khorne is too much. Yeah. I sent some units over here, and then he decided to steal my point. In the end, that ended up being a pretty bad trade for my opponent. Just because Khorne generally will take points faster. Khorne will steal points from you faster than you can steal points from Khorne. And, yeah. Yeah, and then generally going to be having a hard time trading points like that. Though I'm not sure there's much my opponent really could have done. It's just a hard matchup. Every matchup against Khorne is a hard matchup. Let's see, do these guys keep crumbling if I do that? Yeah, they do. Oh wait, entities cannot die. And hey, look at that. Okay, so you can actually keep them from crumbling away with that. That's fun. So I have a bunch of guys there just blocking up the point. Anyways, there's the win. Pretty straightforward. And the first win of the day, too. How great. You meant there's hard to ignore bugs. Generally, it's not too bad. I found the bugs. Anyways, you can see why the Exalted Bloodletters did great. They did even better. Well, actually, they did better than my infantry, but everyone basically did quite well. But look at this. The Khorne spawn costing less than the Bloodletters. This one almost managed to get double value. That is why you take Khorne spawn. On the whole, they they did about as well as the Exalted Bloodletters. Maybe a bit better, actually. So quite good. Quite good. Nice casual first match. What dictates capture weight? Nothing. Creative Assembly just pre-programs in capture weight. So you have some units with high capture weight that you wouldn't expect. You think you'll do well on these win farming runs when Immortal Empires drops? I don't see why not. I'm not. I am one of the most experienced players that really grinds out domination games right now. I've played a ton of Warhammer 2 and a little bit of Warhammer 1 too. I have experience with basically every faction. So I think we should be doing well, except for the fact that many factions are a bit weak. Then again, we did really well in the Cathay win farming stream, so I feel like we'll be fine. Is this solely a Khorne day? Yeah, today's only a Khorne day. I only stream in 2-hour increments. So this is sort of the best way to make sure the faction gets proper representation. Anyways, we're seeing a similar build from my opponent. Man, the money lines up so well here. I wish I could do this, but you really want to have the exalted boys. The question is, how does one actually spend money properly once you do that? I guess you could do something like this. Upgrade these guys to spawn, maybe. Okay, yeah, this is all right. This'll do, and then I can have the exalteds in reserve. We're basically going to be attacking with all of them anyways, so it doesn't really matter too much. Let's see. And then I think I want a Fury and a Warhound. The Warhound's a bit of a strange pick that you might not expect. And that's because, that's because the Warhounds do have infantry capture weight. For no reason. CA they just slapped on infantry capture weight on this unit, and that's how it's gonna be. So yeah, this is what I mean when capture weight's sort of weird. You just sort of have to know it, but there is a spreadsheet. Generally, the idea is that monstrous infantry type units have infantry weight. Cavalry captures at half the speed of infantry. And then single entities, like small heroes, generally capture at 1/3 the speed of infantry. So they'll take a really long time to capture, unless they're very specific single entities, and some of those will have higher capture weight. It's weird. That is correct. HP does matter. So if you have a unit at 10% HP, they're gonna capture 10% as fast. And that's pretty slow. That's very slow. And that is one of the reasons why Cathay is such a weak faction in domination competitive tournaments. It's because most people know how to trade evenly into Cathay. And that means that the Cathay front line of infantry generally is pretty low HP at the end of the fighting. If they're at low HP, it means that even if Cathay won the fight, and they have a bunch of archers left behind, they're not going to be able to capture the point with melee infantry because they're all beat up. And that's one of the reasons why Khorne is so strong, because Khorne has spawn and halberds who can both dogpile on the point at the same time and capture it while you are fighting. This is a big difference. It means that you capture the point like about 2 minutes faster than a ranged defensive faction. And yeah, that's why Khorne is really strong right now. Strangely enough, and this also explains why Khorne is weaker in land battles and Cathay is stronger in land battles, because Cathay will trade up a lot of the time. Yeah, it's sort of weird. This is some feedback that I gave to CA actually, because technically if they keep buffing Cathay in terms of how well they trade to compensate for the lack of capture point weight, Cathay's just going to become a really sort of like polarizing faction where it'll feel like they're always trading up into you because their units are just stronger. And then yeah, that won't feel really good, and it'll be really bad in land battles because they'll actually just be way too strong. Presumably, anyways. It might only be a little bit stronger. But as it stands right now, Cathay's quite weak in domination. Of course, this only works if you play this sort of play style. You'll notice in every game that I play, because Khorne will naturally trade down in a vacuum, and by a vacuum I mean land battles. That means that you generally don't want to fight. You don't want to start fighting early. You want to wait a little bit to sort of mitigate the losses that you usually get. And then your opponent, realizing that you're stealing the points from them, will pool their range units in. And that's how my value will trade up. If I were to just go on these points at the 1 minute mark, you would see me trading down quite a bit. So yeah, pro tip: AFK for the first 3 minutes. This is another thing I propose, is that we sort of skip the first 3 minutes. But it really depends, right? Because I know people play differently in a tournament setting versus a ladder setting. So I don't know, we'll see. Spawn of Khorne are all former warriors, to be fair. Spawn of everybody has infantry capture weight. Each and every single spawn will cap as fast as infantry. Now, we're seeing lead belchers here. This is a trade well unit. If I moved here early, they would shoot me up. So we'll just sort of sit back, relax, AFK for a bit. How's it going, guys? You know, I have nothing to micro. You're never incentivized to move out early if you think you are not going to win the initial fight. And as such, the best play is to do nothing. Of course, is jockeying for position, but that doesn't really matter since it takes about 1 minute to get from here to here. So that's fine. Did the stream die for anyone else? Dang it. Stream's dead? It's back now? Okay. Okay, we're good. We're good. Just refresh. Refresh, guys. Refresh if it's broken. Now, my opponent is going for this point. He's spreading himself thin, which means I'm generally going to trade up in this area. So this should be pretty rough for him. I should also change my settings, I think. Let's see. You know, while we're waiting, right, I want to be able to draw. What's it called? It's like telestration. Let's see. So if I open up, I'll do it after the battle so I don't accidentally break something. But yeah, it's back now. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah. Now he's going to be moving up his lead belchers pretty aggressively here. They are going to be in range of my guy, so he might be able to force a fight a little bit sooner than I had hoped for. I'm just going to back up a tiny bit, move up with my cultists, and then I'll probably just harass them with some summons. I could use Furies and Hounds, but Spawn and Bloodletters are going to trade so much better that we'll just go with that instead. There we go. So now he's going to be taking the fight over here. I think I'm going to summon in the back, and then we're going to go for the Bloodletters, and then we're going to pile on in over here. He might get the triple cap against me. If he does, then that means I did make a minor misplay. But it seems like I should be able to get there just in time. And you can see, despite the AFKing that I did earlier, I'll still be able to capture this point without too many issues. And there we go. He's not even going for the point captures, actually. He's going purely for a fight. Now, this would be pretty good if you expect to trade up. But there is a little bit of a problem in that my opponent's not going to trade up at all. I have a huge advantage in terms of positioning. As in, I'm just, I have reinforcements that basically show up to the fight instantly. I will summon dogs now just to deal with the lead belchers because they are a little bit exposed. So I think that's fine for me. But yeah, this generally taking the fight in your opponent's half of the battlefield, because it takes about a minute to travel across, it means that I have basically between like 500 to 900 extra gold in the fight at any point in the battle. And that sort of constant deficit's going to be hurting my opponent a lot. He's lost all of his lead belchers. The battle's basically over, guys. GG! Yeah, I'm calling it now. This battle's totally over. There's no way. There's no way. And this is sort of why we have the Chaos Warhound unit, because this has infantry capture weight, and we can end his suffering a little bit sooner. Well, GG, well played to my opponent, but it was just a little bit of a rough engagement. You have to be very careful about taking fights too early. The early, like 4 to 5 minutes of domination battles is mostly about trading, and you generally want to be trading up at the start. Why don't people mirror match? Because it's blind picks. It's all blind picks. So you can't choose to mirror match. It just depends on if they decide to play Khorne or not. Though I will say I have practiced the Khorne mirror. I consider myself fairly adept at that. Yep, the good old ending of the suffering. Yeah, this is it's just the trading is so rough, right? Like a 4,000 gold lead this early in the battle is huge, absolutely huge. Yeah, it's rough. Are any expensive units for Khorne good? Crushers, soul grinders, and bloodthirsters. Some of them are good, but none of them are optimal. So I would say bloodthirsters are generally not as good as 2 units of spawn. Soul grinders are not as good as 2 units of spawn, and crushers are not as good as 2 units of spawn, and they all cost about the same. When you think about it that way, right? If I had to choose between those very elite units or more infantry and spawn, the choice is clear. I have no reason to go for anything else, because yeah, these guys will just trade so well. Oh yes, good old multiplayer guys, right? Aren't we so good at just crushing the fun and life out of people? People are just like, man, yo, this is like, come on, Dread Saurians are cool, right? Can I make Dread Saurians work? Come on. And it's just like, nah, you know. Just go for the most basic unit and spam that 24/7. Oh man, yeah. This is mostly an effect of the meta being so optimized at this point, and the fact that we just have so many the fact that we don't have a ton of unit diversity yet. Once Immortal Empires comes out, it'll be less of an issue. So don't worry about that, guys. Don't worry about it in the slightest. What's your opinion on Herald on Blood Shrine mount? I think it's a little bit too expensive for what it does. I would rather have half a unit of halberds than that. The only reason he's on a mount is because it makes him a bit faster. The Blood Shrine technically gives another melee attack boost, so I don't think it's useless. But I've always preferred having a few extra units. Yeah. Tis all. But if you did take it, I wouldn't judge you. If you took a soul grinder, I might judge you. Oh man, is CA aware of this? That 70% of the units are not good in multiplayer? It is basically, whether or not they're aware of it, it's basically impossible to not have that happen, because unless like you have units that are filling a very specific niche. Yeah, the problem is that are we out of units to summon? No, we got more. The problem is that when you have, it's like you just have units that are better, right? You have units that will fight better in most situations. And usually what happens is that you'll just take the maximum number of them. So like Khorne spawn is going to make up 4,000 gold of your army. So like roughly a quarter of your army, a little bit under. And if another unit was slightly better, it's not like I'm going to take a mix of spawn and that unit. I would just switch to that unit. So it's very hard to not, it's very hard to get a situation where you're not just spamming out the same unit. Of course, there are ways to get around it, like sort of having units specialize in certain circumstances. But yeah, it's just a hard task, but it's sort of fine. Soul Grinder can pew pew. Why do you need pew pew when you can get skulls for the Skull Throne? What type of Khorne player values pew pew? Are you crazy? Are you trying to get smited by Khorne? Oh my gosh, what is a sacrilege? I can't believe my chat is even considering such an idea. Now, can we win before he even captures this point? I think he will just barely steal it from us, unfortunately, which means that this game will sadly last about a few seconds longer than it would normally. But you know, maybe we get there soon enough. Nah, he's gonna cap it. Oh man, I'm memeing a little bit, but yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about? Let's see. Oh, I should I might want to get that rant in a video. I feel like that's an interesting talk. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about when it comes to multiplayer. But yeah, Soul Grinder is very bad in melee. So this sort of play style, which is so meta in multiplayer right now, where you just where you essentially just steal points very, very hard. He's getting a ton of comeback points, by the way. It's totally fine. But yeah, this sort of meta where you want to be fighting on the point, but you steal it. It doesn't really combo well with ranged types of play styles. The only faction that can really pull it off is sort of Kislev, but Kislev isn't even that strong in the meta right now, so I don't think that will really do too well. I think like right now the meta is very much like, look at this. He has like so many units on the point, but we're capturing it and winning the trades at the same time. This means that I don't have to clear out his army before we actually win it, which is one of the reasons why we do so well here. Stop, he's already dead. I'm trying to stop it sooner, man. I'm trying to stop it sooner. Still though, well played to my opponent. I think it would have been much better had the fight taken place in the middle, I will say. And he did start trading a bit more evenly towards the end of the game, so that's pretty good. Which Khorne warrior is best in general? If you had to choose, go for halberds, because in general the dual axes are better, but in terms of the meta, halberds will usually get you more value than the dual axes. Yeah, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. 3,000 gold spawn. Jeez Louise, that is gross. That is gross. All right, well, there's the second win. Let's go ahead and update the text. All right, nice. I'm gonna find match, and then I'm going to see if I can change my preferences. Let's see. Telestration. True. Save. Hopefully that doesn't break the game. All right, back to Khorne shenanigans. There we go. Besides the Nurgle Soul Grinder, are there any Soul Grinders that would be worth bringing in most matchups? Maybe the Slaanesh one. Maybe the Slaanesh one. That's about it. That's about it. You have the Nurgle one. Honestly, I don't even enjoy the Nurgle one that much, but it is okay. It does pretty good for itself. And then you have the Khorne one and the Tzeentch one, which are both sort of meh. Also, wow, we're getting a lot of people watching today. Apparently people like watching wind farming. Hey, look at that. We have a Khorne mirror match. How does this match play out? One might ask. I will tell you. First things first, we're gonna do a couple shenanigans. Well, first of all, what's very important, halberds trade up into Khorne spawn, and bloodletters, and exalted bloodletters too. If you want the strongest stack, like strongest frontline, you go for these two guys. Herald, of course, is very good because we have him with his melee attack buffs. And then I'm going to take me 2 Warhounds, okay? This is going to look a little bit weird, but trust me, it is actually pretty useful. These three guys combined will capture points extremely, extremely quickly. And that's what makes them very important here. The fact that I can trade into my opponent and still take points will give me a slight leg up compared to sort of many of the other things that my opponent can bring. If he goes too hard on the dogs, I'll just overwhelm him with infantry. So I'm not particularly worried on that front. And I am going to have this is basically like the strongest infantry front I can have. The question is, do I go for more hounds or more of these guys? The hounds are good because they'll steal points faster. But if he plays it smart and we end up waiting a long time, I think I do want more infantry. This map is pretty bad for sniping points too because of how well defended they are. So I think this is going to be our Khorne versus Khorne build. You'll notice there's going to be a lot of similarities between my builds today too. Hey, Tzeentch, thank you for the compliments. Are Minotaurs useful in any circumstance, or are spawns just better? Spawns are just better. Today, I should call the stream spawns are just better. Oh, man. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it's true. It's true. Chaos Spawn are by far the most cost-efficient unit here. Because they're cheap. They perform about 300 to 200 gold more efficiently than a lot of other units. Yeah, spawns and halberds. Yeah, pricing is a hard thing to fine-tune because you have to wait for the meta to settle. That means about like a month or two of a very competitive community playing against each other to figure that out. And Creative Assembly just, you know, they're not going to hire the entire multiplayer base to figure out what the meta is just so that they can change the meta, right? What's sort of better is that they constantly put out updates every like 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months. And that will sort of just keep the meta fresh. I think that's a much safer way to go about it. By the way, there is technically another playstyle we could do here, which involves a hell cannon, actually. But it's pretty easily countered by hiding in a forest, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to take the fighting over here on his far point. Or maybe not. No, that's sort of a recipe for bad trades. I'm going to just hide in the forest instead. Why do you stack your spawn on top of your infantry? It makes them fight better. It makes them fight better. Simple as that. Alright, so already we're seeing my opponent has nothing. He has one... Oh boy, how kitted out is Scarbrand? Fully kitted out! Amazing. Scarbrand is cool, but he's generally overpriced. So he's not going to be too efficient here, but we'll see, we'll see. You learned a lot about multiplayer on my streams and all others combined. That's really nice to hear, man. Yeah, because I really... Look, I focus on the tactics side of multiplayer rather than the spectacle. I think domination is much like a chess match rather than a spectacle. So you usually see me playing, you know, from orbit all the way up here, right? Just like, you know, you can't see the units or anything. But it does mean that we will be able to sort of focus a lot more on how to actually play well. It's a nice little niche. Because I know Turin goes for the spectacle. He does like mix of spectacle and tactics. Milk and Cookies goes sort of very hard on the spectacle. So yeah. I think I'm one of like the only people that really grind out tournaments and such. You're waiting for the flying spawn variant? That would be terrifying. Now, here's the thing. My opponent's going to be going for early capture points. This is going to be a disadvantage for him because of the comeback mechanic. This matchup is a fairly close matchup. So, you usually do want to be very wary of that. He's going to be landing a breath attack. That's going to do decent damage, but nothing too crazy, you know. It'll pay for itself in the end, but we're sort of fine with that. And the problem that my opponent faces is that if he gets his middle point, right? If he gets his middle point and I can start trading into him, and trading up into him specifically while getting the comeback mechanic, he's going to be in for a rough time. Though it will take me a hot second to actually get in the fight here. I'll need to start summoning some guys over here to get sort of a multi-dual lane of attack. But yeah, I think we should be fine. You missed 2 games. They were pretty quick games. Nothing too crazy, man. But you can always check out the VOD. The VOD is always there. Scarbrand versus anti-large AP halberds. With the spawn blocking him. Yeah. This is like almost the perfect composition to give Scarbrand a hard time. So my opponent's going to capture these 2 points fairly quickly. I'll just go for this one. If the fighting ends up taking very long on the middle point, I will start to get comeback points, which will sort of give me the lead. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to be going for the typical summons here. Going for a ton of halberds, ton of spawn, and then we'll go ahead and grab the bloodthirsters afterwards. Yeah, this map is a little bit weird for using the comeback mechanic, so I'm mostly just going to play it safe for now. If we take a look at my capture weight, I do have quite superior capture weight to him. If you take a look, he has 5 infantry units, 6 incoming, to my already 6 here with 3 incoming. So I'll be able to pretty easily out-capture him. Scarbrand's going to move in and go for another breath attack. This will generate a bit of value, but no, he actually pulls away, all right. And then, yeah, once I get the bloodletters in here, I think the middle point should just be a win, and we won't even have to worry about using the comeback mechanic to hopefully end things a bit faster. Hey, Max Sisser, Sis Jr., welcome to the crew. A new deckhand. Happy to have you here. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do any unit naming as this isn't campaign, but happy to have you, man. So here we go. We have an engagement. I have been able to field all of my forces to my opponent's everything except for a halberd. So naturally, I do have the larger army here, and simply I just have to make sure I take a clean engagement. This ramp is a little bit perilous, but I don't think he can do much to really catch me here. And then we should be fine. He has done fairly well in that he hasn't summoned too many dog units. So most of his army is at fairly high strength. But already I can feel that I have a pretty nice lead in value here. Hey, how's Cat of War? GG, man, GG. Good game. Yeah, I think let's see, saying trying to find the right balance of melee and ogres. I think we had the closest game today, but in the end, I think it's just a pretty rough matchup for ogres, to be honest. Now you're gonna take a look at these bloodletters, and you're gonna see why halberds are so scary against them. Once they actually slam on in, it's gonna be pretty rough. They're gonna be melting rather quickly here. I have my big ol' AoE buff for my guys. I have bloodletters charging in through here. I technically sent my spawn into some bad fights. Scarbrand also managed to push through my halberd, so I will want to keep my guy a little bit safe here. But overall, I should be trading up just due to sheer weight of numbers, I believe. We'll sort of see, though. It could sort of go either way. Summons on both sides are going to be getting in pretty crazy amounts of damage. I was a little bit slow on the call there for summons. You can see my opponent's even trading up into me right now. Perhaps this won't go as well as I would have hoped. We'll see. We'll see. My confidence may be my downfall. But we do finally have the summons dropping on in, and then we'll sort of see how things pan out. Scarbrand's getting a lot of damage here, though. Not gonna lie. That's actually pretty scary. Pretty scary. Perhaps my opponent will be able to win this, but soon enough I will start getting some extra points here. Looks like this flank should be able to hold fairly well. And then I'm going to sick my 2 cultists on Scarbrand and start taking them out. I also want to do I want to cap the point? Maybe I want to hold on it, really. Let's see, how's the trading going? You know, he's trading up. He's traded up. My opponent, he knows what's up. Let's go ahead and grab, sure, I'll grab some dual axes. I'm not too worried about falling behind in points, though me capping early did actually hurt me a tiny bit. We take a look at my cultists. They are actually getting pretty beat up. Let's go ahead and pull them back, and then we'll sort of keep an eye on Scarbrand. Oh, they're on foot. Oh, they're on foot. Ah, that's a bit of a misplay, I think. We'll see. We'll see. It really depends on how well Scarbrand does here. Soon enough, I will start getting come from behind points. I think this dog pile here of all of my heroes is going to be a fairly nice trade. And then against these dogs, I can summon some warhounds just to trade there. Yeah, so now we're starting to get come from behind points. That's an extra like 30%-ish that I'm getting over my opponent. He's going to be holding the middle point, and we'll sort of see how this pans out here. Overall, my reinforcements, I do have another bloodletter that I'll be able to bring in a bit. He gets a pretty nice breath attack, but the forces are trading relatively evenly. I'm about 1,000 points behind, only 500 now. As long as I don't lose my lord, I think we're fine. Yeah, he will be going for my lord though. Nice charge in on Scarbrand's part. We're going to pull away to safety. Oh, and he rampages. Okay, interesting, very interesting. We're gonna summon another spawn, and if we take a look at the actual value here, I'm getting pretty nice come from behind. I just want to capture this middle point, I think, with my infantry lead, and then we should be good. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab these guys. We'll send them in, and then once the middle point is captured, I'll be able to get some extra points for myself. We've had this for a couple minutes now, which means that will actually end up being an advantage for me. Scarbrand's quite low. I have an infantry advantage, so yeah. I think we won it. I think we won it, though it did get a lot closer than I would have hoped for. I will say, my opponent did some pretty nice plays with Scarbrand. Yeah, Scarbrand OP. He did, he's nice for killing the spawn. I'll check his value by the end of things. Or you know what, we can check it now since I think we've pulled a lead. 2,000 gold. Not bad for himself. Let's go ahead and sick the dogs on him, though. Yeah, middle point is captured. Middle point is captured. My Herald is over here. He'll be able to give some buffs. He's gonna rampage the Herald, though. And that will probably result in the death of my Lord, as he's sort of pushing him out of there. Oh, come on. Get out of the Herald. And he's fine. He's fine. He's totally fine. Oh, man. But yeah, sadly enough, I think my opponent did actually play quite well. I did actually quite enjoy his build, but I think we're gonna win it off the backs of the comeback points, sadly. Just because I don't think my opponent really has much left. If you look at sort of the trading here, right? He has basically nothing. Yeah, there's just nothing going on. Technically he has Scarbrand, but he's very beat up, so we should win it. And this is sort of the problem with the comeback mechanic. We had a very close fight, yet my opponent's gonna lose the game, which is very unfortunate. Ooh, very nice game though. That was a lot closer than I would have thought. We ended up trading evenly, which sort of shows that Scarbrand does actually have some teeth, especially when it comes to killing off your Lord. But yeah, look at this now. The spawn summons coming back is a huge play for us. Scarbrand has pretty nice armor, I think. Yeah, but he's still gonna take a lot of damage. My cultists are in there. And now, because of the lead that we got from comeback points, I'm now starting to pull a fairly decent army advantage. And this is why you want to sort of stall your engagement a bit. There we go. Scarbrand's gonna die. He summons in some more guys towards the middle. I can tell he's very low on units to summon right now. So I think as soon as we capture this point over here, we should be fine. Though very well played to my opponent. I think being able to snipe my Lord with Scarbrand was actually quite good. I might consider him, actually. I might consider him in future builds. You know, he actually did perform a lot better than I would have expected. So I will give my opponents props for that. Can we see a Scarbrand game from me? Sure. Given that performance, it seems like it's pretty good. I don't know. Anyways, this is why I do have these two dog summons. They are the fastest capture weight that Khorne has, and they're easily going to be able to steal this point over here with the support of my Chaos Spawn. He's technically going to summon some dogs here. They're just normal Flesh Hounds, though. So a counter Flesh Hound summon should be able to pretty easily beat them before they become an issue. There we go. We have the capture point, and we're quite in the clear when it comes to victory points. It seems like me winning these fights happened just fast enough. Just barely fast enough. And here we go. We're even going to snipe this point from my opponent. A little bit faster than him. There we go. There's my Hound summon. They're going to trade into each other, which means that it'll basically kill his capture weight there. Which is very good. Nice. This point is secured. We'll go ahead and throw down another buff. Probably pull my cultists over there too to help with the fighting. And then yeah, we've established a triple cap. Fairly good. I think I was like a little bit worried at the start because we were trading badly, but it sort of ended up okay for us in the end. We started trading evenly, and then yeah, that's gonna be it. Very close game though. I think against many other Khorne players, my opponent would have crushed it, man. He had a fun build. Scarbrand's pretty fun too, I will say. Though I wonder, maybe I want to get my Herald on foot in a Khorne mirror, just so that he's a tiny bit safer versus Scarbrand. Scarbrand's terrifying, man. He will kill you. He'll kill you real fast. Think you're following like every major Warhammer content creator? Nice, easy. But I'll always be on the top. Thank you very much, man. Like I try my best is all. carving out my niche. Slowly but surely, hopefully turning this into a proper full-time career. I'm technically doing Warhammer full-time in terms of hours, but I don't really have the income yet, unfortunately. Though it is getting there, especially with streams like this. 180 people, that's insane. That's bonkers, guys. But yeah, GG, well played to my opponent. He probably gave me the closest game we had yet today, with actually pretty nice value on Scarbrand. I think I did have superior infantry lead, which let me capture the point from him in a good amount of time. But he did a really good job shutting down my Lord. I could have kept my Lord a bit safer there, but still though, that was some really nice play. Let's see, but still though, we managed to come out on top. It would have been very close if it wasn't for the comeback mechanic. He did have some blood crushers actually, but never summoned them. And I think the bloodletters are slightly inefficient, although they did actually pay for themselves. You know, maybe he knows what's up. Not too bad. They do reinforce quite quickly. Yeah, very fun game. That was a really nice fun game. Mount Otter. All right, sure, I'll take it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Your words are too kind, chat. Too kind. Too many units are immune to fear and terror. There are a lot of units that are immune to fear and terror, indeed. Looperden saying great game. Thank you. Yeah, it was quite fun. Do you plan on streaming multiplayer more regularly? Yeah. I'll basically stream multiplayer if we're getting viewership like this. What the? This is an ogre icon? The rock skulls? Anyways, if we're getting viewership like this, I think I'll definitely stream a lot more multiplayer. This is great. I'm having a lot of fun too. I enjoy multiplayer about the same as campaign, but sometimes I'll feel like playing one or the other. Yeah. Anyways, I saw some people requesting some Khorne action. Or not Khorne, Scarbrand action. How expensive is this bad boy? He's pretty expensive. But if we're playing against, it depends on the faction. If it's a faction where I think I can do it, I'll try it. What about an all-cav Khorne build? I'll do some like meme stuff later. I'll start like mixing it into the reinforcements, but it really depends on what my opponent plays. Cause domination, you can really easily lose games if you don't do it too well. It's gonna be Kislev. Scarbrand is sort of awkward here, especially with the sleds. Let's see. Is there a way I can fit him in? He's okay. He's alright. The Herald is just so much cheaper though. Herald is way cheaper. I think let's see, it's Kislev though. The memes. How cheap can we get Scarbrand? Let's see, if we take him naked, if we take this bad boy naked, I can get him down to 2,600. That means that we lose a spawn and we lose the buffs from our Herald. But it does mean we have a Scarbrand. I don't recognize this name, so I think we have a pretty good leg up. Let's try it. You guys were asking for it. We'll do a bit of Scarbrand action. The great thing about Scarbrand is that he's an amazing source of anti-large. A really good source of anti-large. So, as sort of a way to... just like, to just be super annoying. He's the way to go. Yeah. If you want to kill stuff like... If you want to make sure that single entities aren't blobbing up against you, it's really nice for sniping out those bad boys. Let's see. I just have to figure out how to mix my money. There we go. That's a bit better. And then, since we're up against Kislev, I think we do want a couple more dogs and Furies. Fewer infantry, more mobility. Can be a good way to go. I'll do it like this, since Furies are actually quite good against Kislev. Nice. If you need a mod, it says it all about the base game. I have no idea what you're talking about, Chibbin. Whew. Scarbrand's gonna get blasted to bits by sleds. I'm not too worried since we can zone out the sleds. You just have to be very careful not to get in range of them. But it does ensure that basically any amount of snow leopards are gonna be no problem. Yeah, Scarbrand is one of those guys that I feel like is slightly off meta, but still not bad. Just because of how good of a damage dealer he is versus large units. I still vastly prefer the Herald, but, you know, if we're playing on quick battle, this could be some good Scarbrand practice for me. Cultists are on foot still. That's like half intentional. These guys are pretty good on foot because of their shields and the fact that they can just walk into formations and throw summons down. So I think it's sort of fine that they're on foot. Plus, I think if we had a Herald, I would want these guys on mounts, but Scarbrand is good enough mobility where I don't think it's a problem. Mods are made to make the edit the game to your preference. Let's see with the mods. Okay, yeah. You know, I've been playing my last campaign has had mods, so you know, it's quite fun. For our opponent, let's take a look at his build. We see Winged Lancers, Streltsy, some ranged. It's a ranged heavy build. I'll go with the usual. We're gonna go with a 1-cap stall into getting the other caps. Kislev, generally they can trade up into us, so I have to be a bit careful. But if I take a clean enough engagement, it shouldn't really be too much of a problem. I have to be careful with how many units I put on the high ground though, since there's a decent chance that my high ground units can't make it through this choke point very well. So I want more guys on the low ground. You were distracted while typing? No problem, man. No problem. I ain't judging. What's Kislev's threat in multiplayer? Generally, it's that they trade well with their ranged, and then their snow leopards will steal your points from you. So what you want to do against Kislev is never get army wiped. If you ever lose your entire army against them, it's gonna be a bad time. So a lot of the times, I just like to focus trading up into them. And actually, this is a very heavy ranged build. We're seeing, like, is this my build? Is this guy playing my build from Turin's thing? No, he has armored Kossars, so it's slightly different. He's just playing a normal ranged vanilla build. Nice. But yeah, you have to be very careful about trading. He's going for an early cap, which is fine. I could go for a delayed point capture, which I think I might want. If I capture early, it means that I have longer to attack here, so that's sort of fine. I don't think I'll army wipe them, so yeah, I will capture this point. We're not going to go for the come from behind mechanic this time around. But here's the problem with Kislev. Here's the big problem with Kislev, alright? Hear me out. Once the fighting gets started, I'm going to steal this point basically instantly. Basically instantly. Yeah, it was the flattery. The flattery is intense. But yeah, this area, unless my opponent pushes this far up, I'm easily going to steal this whenever I want to. The problem that poses for my opponent is that if I manage to take this point, once he's at about 2,500 victory tickets, it's gonna be a pretty bad time for my opponent, because it's gonna take forever for him to steal back this point. And then I'll basically just be able to call it a victory. Like, yeah, I don't think he's gonna steal it back once I actually go for it. Not to mention, I can also feint an army up here on the high ground. So these guys are sort of getting over here. He doesn't have a lot of units, so he's gonna be worried about me stealing this point. He'll have to relocate, and then I should be able to make a big dive on the middle, which is my actual intent. You can see he's already summoning. Yeah, he summoned Zargard in the distance. So this is actually pretty nice for me then. As now, all I have to do is grab one halberd, put them on top. We'll keep the bloodletters here so that they can pick and choose where they end up. And then I'll just sort of wait. Yeah, Khorne is sort of a very timing heavy faction, where you really, a lot of the times, you're just waiting. Yeah, you're just waiting, because because I know I can steal this point at the halfway mark and hold it. I am under no pressure to move forwards any faster than I already am. And this should result in a pretty nice win for us. Of course, this is a pretty bad fight for Scarbrand, so we're down one spawn than we usually would have. But, you know, it's a little bit of a deficit, right? If I'm lucky, I can draw some fire with Scarbrand, and that'll get his guys to keep his range units a bit busy. I'm also going to be spamming out a lot of Furies once we actually get into the main fight. But we're not there just yet. I still have a lot of time. He has 2 capture points at 600 a minute. It means that it's gonna be about like, what, 4 minutes before we even begin the fight. So really, it really is no rush. You know what? Let's grab the bloodletters and get them onto the high ground too. You can see this point is still very exposed. I know for a fact I can still capture it. Though I do want to get my melee units in range for sort of a quick strike when I want to actually dive in. Yeah, people really like going for the middle. Now, technically, it would have been slightly better had I gone for a big spawn and infantry fight over here. I think that would have been the better play on this map. I'm a little bit not used to this map, so I might be a little bit less efficient there, but yeah, we'll see. You know, I could just go for this, right? This is like pretty ripe for the picking, I will say. I guess my opponent has a lot of cavalry summons he could throw in. But this is like pretty good for me if I do think so anyways. Though I do want to start actually pushing upwards and getting ready to move on in. He's going to move up with his Streltsy, that's fine. He's going to buff up their range. That means that they will be able to fire at Scarbrand. I can dodge it though, we're fine. There we go, not a problem. Not a problem. I do like his play though. This guy, he feels inspired by me, I don't know. Something about how he's playing it out is pretty fun. But yeah, not too much of a problem, and we're just gonna keep waiting. I have full confidence that that there's basically nothing to worry about here, as we're still not at the tipping point. Khorne is the master of patience in terms of factions. It's all about that timing, and the more he tries to poke at me, the better positioning we're gonna get. I think we want to move in now, though. Now is about the time we want to go in. Winged Lancers are going to fight my guys. That's totally fine. And now we're going to start spamming Furies. They're going to dive on in. And then everybody's going to move on into this middle area here. Scarbrand's going to be careful. Of course, the Shielded Warriors have to get in there, too. These spawn are getting a bit ahead of themselves. I'm going to dodge back with them. And then we'll see how it goes. There we go. One spawn is rampaged. I'm going to grab the Furies and just send them into these backline Kossar guys. There we go. Most of the guys are now targeting my cultists, which means that they are pretty... They'll do just fine. Let's see. We'll throw down a summon over there. This guy wants to throw down his summon early too, since he's getting sort of blocked up by these Kislev range units. And then the collapse will begin. Now remember, the goal is to be able to win the fight, or to steal the point. We don't even want to win the fight. That's the crazy thing. We want to steal the point in before he gets to about 3,000 victory points. I don't think this is a difficult task at all. As you can see, my opponent played pretty conservatively. He tried staying quite safe to make sure his range units would trade better. But now he's going to run into the problem where we basically just capture the point, and there we go. We have it. And the only thing that I have to worry about now is just Capture Kitty stealing my victory point over here. But Flesh Hounds are a really nice answer for them. So I'm not too worried. Of course, this is what Scarbrand is great for too. He's going to be pretty easily... Oh no, he went for Dervishes. Alright, that's good for me. Yeah, Scarbrand can also defend that, so that's not a problem. And then I think this is basically it. We'll make these guys immortal so that they will constantly bug my opponent. In fact, we're even trading up because of how clean of an engagement that was. He had a ton of units on the high ground here, which is going to hurt him. And I think that's basically the win. Well played to my opponent, though. Well played. I think he had a nice position, but our patience is too much. This is exactly how you want to play as Khorne. If I had engaged way earlier, there's a chance that I would have traded downwards. But now I can easily just worry about trading up. I have the 2 victory points, and there's no way he's going to take them back. Yeah, critical mass reached. There's also another interesting thing that happens here. My opponent will actually start running out of units to summon on account of him being Kislev, a human faction with units that route off the map like these guys. And that's going to be hurting him a lot, as he won't be able to reinforce as fast as he wants. Yeah. But yeah, you can see it's gonna take them 1,500 points to win the game. In that time, we're going to get 3,000 points, which means we just barely captured in time. We barely captured in time. Plus, I have come from behind points, which is actually gonna hurt him a bit. Okay, nice. He summoned in another unit to try and deal with this. I should be able to counter that with my reinforcements over here. He's actually going all in on this, which is a nice Hail Mary play, but I think it's not going to be enough as we're sort of on our way to army wiping him now. Gorst reworks? Yeah, Gorst reworks is going to be very exciting indeed. Indeed. All right, nice. Scarbrand. Get his lord. Go get her. He should be able to kill her quite quickly. Let's see. My math was right? Because he's going to be... Oh, no. He needed a lot more points. He needs like almost 2,000 points to win it. Yeah, so we were way in the clear. There was like no chance. Had the fighting gone on here for like another minute, I probably still would have won off a 2 capture. Yeah. Brutal for my opponent. There we go. That's a big cast. He summons in some Streltsy. We're gonna run away with Scarbrand again. Remember, always babysit your Scarbrand. Always babysit your Scarbrand. He can't take care of himself for the life of him. And here's a crazy thing too. A lot of people would say this game was close. But I would say this game was not close in the slightest. Obviously, full props to my opponent. He played well. But people will look at the victory tickets and say this was like, oh yeah, look at that, you know? He almost won on victory tickets, but yeah. I had a whole extra minute to steal this point. It's just brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal. Anyways, I guess we march forward. So we'll go for the triple cap. It's not fully necessary, but this will end it a little bit faster. And then I think over here I'll leave these exalteds just so that he doesn't steal anything. Come to think of it, is there any benefit to having units run off the map instead of dying? Running off the map is very bad in domination, yeah. Because if you're running off the map, you're just gonna, you know what? I don't even have to capture this point. My opponent's played well enough where I think it's a bit risky to go for that anyways. I'll just go for the 2 cap victory. Because it's just, I can basically AFK on these 2 points. But yeah, having units run off the map is really bad. Because it takes way longer for them to be resummoned. This is one of the reasons why supply gain was lowered. Because people were just running out of units by the end of the battle. Nice, GG. This game is already good. Give it time and it's going to... Oh yeah, when Immortal Empires comes out, it's going to be amazing. Because I'm already really enjoying domination as is right now. So yeah. I think it's going to be great. And then we'll see the fruits of our labor here. So I was about 500 points behind. Which means I had roughly 1 minute to take this point. That's a fairly generous amount of time. And of course, if it had taken longer, I could have just taken this. So, yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah. Nice. You can unsummon units while they're routing. Can you? I don't think you can. Is there a way to select units while they're routing? Do I have a unit that's routing? Like, I can unsummon these guys, but they just died instantly. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't think you... Oh, you said you can't unsummon while they're routing. Yeah, there you go. That's correct. That's correct. You can't unsummon while they're routing. Yeah. But yeah, it's a nice leisurely double cap here. We don't have to take this. And we're just fine. Yeah, my bad. Chat's gonna correct me for the next minute now. I know I misread it. Anyways, and now you guys are hearing me, and now you're like, yo, Enticity, we know that you know now. Why do you have to repeat yourself? The woes of streaming. But yeah. Pretty good game. I liked the defensive formation. Had he held me off for another minute, it would have been a lot closer. But that delayed perfect timing engagement is a little bit too rough to deal with. Also, another problem is that Kislev, without cats, their cavalry won't capture you points until you clear the point. So cavalry is actually terrible when it comes to stealing points. Absolutely terrible. Nice. GG. GG, guys. Hey, that's another win. I gotta say, Khorne is... When you have your attack timings down, I think domination is actually like... Domination is at least 50% attack timings. If I was backseating you and telling you when to attack, I think I could get probably most players to do quite well in tournaments. Because, yeah, like if I had waited an extra minute to move in, I might have lost that game. Which is sort of crazy, right? So it's a huge game sense thing, right? You have to predict how quickly the battle will go, and you have to know how it'll actually play out. Which is what makes domination so fun. It's like you're constantly looking at your opponent like, do you think you can really take this in 1 minute? Do you think you can actually... What, the zone? Zone! My dude, he's in it. Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, wait, you can recall routing units? Alright, Zone. Alright. Second best player in... Well, Zone says I'm the best player in Warhammer, which, I don't know. Could be disputed, but I'll take it. I would say Zone is probably second best or third best, easily, in all of Warhammer right now. Although, the one advantage that we do have against them outside of general meta knowledge is micro, as I've been playing Warhammer for much longer than him. So we'll see if that actually ends up playing well. We'll see. If he takes a loss against us, that would be huge. I swear, if you play Slaanesh, don't you dare win a Slaanesh against my Khorne. Don't you dare, not on stream. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if you did that. Oh, your build was inspired from the Turin vid. That's awesome, J-Wall. That's awesome. Yeah, it was well played. It was well played. I think in the end, just Khorne is pretty well favored there. But I think how you played it was fairly good. You do have to make sure that I don't capture that second point, though. Against my sort of delayed engagement, that's what you want to do, but very fun. He goes for the Khorne mirror. You madman, Zone. You madman. All right, well, here we go. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I know how Zone likes to play this. We could go for his skull cannons. Skull cannons against the Khorne on Eye in the North. There's not a lot to actually defend against them. So this is actually a non-meme. Skull cannons are actually quite good. I predict Zone will be much more aware of the comeback mechanic than I, so he will do a fairly good job at defending against that. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. I always tell Zone that I'm too busy to do practice because I'm busy streaming. So he's found the workaround. He's going to be here instead. More cavalry. Not against Zone. This is a try-hard game. This is one of the best players in the world right now. We're not going to meme with cavalry. I'll give you the meme after this game. How does that sound, guys? We'll go a full Skull Crusher, Blood Crusher thing. In fact, I'll do a win farming stream that is like Blood Crusher win farming. Just for you guys, but not now. Not now. We have a match to win. I believe the halberds are great. Double halberds. Double spawn will do very well. We have to make sure that they don't die to skull cannons, though. So they'll have to stay nice and far back. I'll also go ahead and max out on spawn. I also very much want to max out on probably halberds, honestly. Halberds are great. All of the exalted's gonna be quite scary versus them. I do want some capture dogs, because I know those will very much come in handy towards the end of the game. Maybe like a single unit of Furies. This is a fairly, this doesn't have a lot of mobility, which is a bit scary. You know what? The Skull Cannon sort of runs into issues because I don't have that much mobility. I think I'm gonna cut one. I'll cut one. Yeah, and then we can do this instead. The meme. The quad spawn start. And then let's see. You know, does value even matter if skull cannons are involved? Does it even matter? Yeah, value doesn't matter. You know, screw the skull cannons. Screw the skull cannons. I'm changing my plans mid army phase. Yeah, I actually really just want units that trade well. So that means I will just be spamming out a whole bunch of infantry. I'm gonna try out the bloodletters. They're not amazing in all situations, but versus, you know, spawn and other exalteds, they can do okay. You know what? Screw the dogs. Screw the you know, I do really like the dogs though. Dogs are great. Let's see. You know, I'll get a dual weapon. I'll get a dual weapon. All right, Zone. Let's do it. Let's do it. This should be interesting. Alright. Alright. Minotaurs. Minotaurs are good for killing spawn. Not cost efficiently, actually. But, you know, if Zone actually brings Minotaurs and kills me, that would be huge. That would be huge. How are the chariots for Khorne? They're pretty good against Tzeentch, it seems. I saw they did a lot of damage versus Tzeentch. Like, they waffle stomp Tzeentch. Like, it was no shot. Tzeentch got annihilated by chariots. If you want to have fun as Khorne against Tzeentch, take some chariots, guys. They're amazing. Yeah, Minotaurs, they probably technically trade up into spawn. If they're just one-on-one, but the fact that they cost more and the fact that they also die to halberds is a big problem. At least how I see it. Now, here's the thing. I have no reason to really do too much at the start of the battle, other than hide from Zone's skull cannon plays. It's gonna be a little bit awkward, but I think it'll be fine. And then all I have to do is capture the points at like 1 minute mark. Then we'll be good. I do have to be, in general, if you're playing against like a top level player like Zone, you want to be, I can't even see his army, but he can't see my army. It's true, they do have horns. Professor Pone, hello, happy to have you here. Legendary player, been around for a really long time. But yeah, generally what you want to do in this matchup, you want to capture your first point at 4 minutes. And then depending on how quickly your opponent captures the other points, you want to go a little bit sooner. He's going to go for the spawn of Khorne halberd stack. This is a Zone favorite. He loves going for those guys, so that's going to be quite interesting. Thankfully over here, I think my dog should be able to zone out his skull cannon. Ignore the puns, guys. It's too obvious. And then yeah, we should be fine. I think I foresee no problems. So far, we saw how the comeback mechanic can get leverage to get an advantage. Yeah, we did see a little bit of that in the last Khorne mirror. It is actually quite important when it comes to mirror matches, so you have to be careful. Enticity had a bright future. Yeah, the skull cannon. It's actually not a meme in this matchup. In terms of like, when it comes to facing up against my opponent here, it's there's a good chance that he can really get a lot of value off of this guy. Alternatively, there's also a chance that it does nothing. It really depends, because look at us, we're just hiding. We're hiding over here, there's no problem. Is he gonna shoot my cultist? Oh, he's shooting my cultist. You madman. Alright, let's catch him off. There we go. Yeah, what are you gonna do about that? I have dogs. Now, technically, this is a bad trading unit. But if I do actually get a little bit of biting damage on the back of the skull cannon, that is going to reduce his value ever so slightly, and that should actually result in a little bit of an upwards trade for me. Look at that, 22 value, huge. That's the biggest value I've ever seen. Stream is rather laggy. Dang it. Yeah, I heard there was some lag today. That's unfortunate. Sadly, there's not really much I can do about it, unfortunately. So I got him to summon some dogs. That's okay. I can run away though, and that's not going to really result in too much, I don't think. Yeah, I think I've just been having some internet issues is all. It's unfortunate, but there's not much I can really do. So he also has a herald. That's pretty fun. Oh, it has line of sight. Run! Run! No, he got value. He got 55 value. A shame, a shame. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna summon the Furies just to bully his dogs. Yeah, what are you gonna do about that, Zone? I got Furies. Yeah, that's right. You better run. You better run. The Furies are too scary. This is just a skirmish phase. Neither of us really want to cap for the next while, so. But I think this actually is a pretty good trade for me. Funnily enough, this is, that's quite nice. Yeah, look at that. His poor dogs just got annihilated, man. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of damage. Oh, jeez, Louise. That value. That raw value. Insane. But yeah, now I do want to start moving into capture. So that means the summoning of units will begin. We'll grab these guys, bring them in a little bit. Furies should be able to fight these guys quite well. I do have a buff for my dogs. That's going to increase their melee attack by just insane amounts. The Skull Cannon hasn't traded too well, and I think we've already pulled a pretty good lead versus zone in the beginning phases of the game. Now I'm going to start capturing the points. Comeback mechanic won't be as much of a problem as armies get larger, so I'm not particularly worried about that. And then I just have to worry about the middle point in a decent amount of time. Now, he's not going for his back point yet, and I think that is a good call. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. The scary part is that his Skull Cannon does technically have full ammunition, so it will be able to sort of harass me a bit more. And I will have to worry about that, but at least he won't be able to desummon it or anything. Here we go. So that's point number 1 captured. And then, yeah, we just sort of wait. We bide our time, trade up, and should be no problem. 55 was from the dogs. He missed. Amazing. He does hit with that one, but I've actually already gotten a pretty nice lead. So I'm not too worried right now. That's another shot. I do want to take this fight, by the way, because I think his Skull Cannons are a little bit forwards. I guess there is a little bit of a worry. Do I only have force? Oh, I'm down 1 spawn. That's a misplay on my part. You generally want to have more spawn in this matchup, but that's okay. Yeah, we're just sort of waiting. He will start to trade up here in value, and he will desummon the Skull Cannon too. Thankfully, we did do a bit of poke damage to it, so it won't get nearly as much value as it could, but yeah, I think it really depends on how this fight goes. It really depends. At some point, I want to get this capture point, though, probably at the 1,000 mark. Looks like one of my spawns rampage too. That's nice for my opponent. Let's go ahead and grab some more Chaos Warrior Halberds. There we go. And nice, we can sort of start moving in towards this fight. So here's how you play out. Here's how you play Khorne mirror match fights. You want to be very careful about. You want to be very careful about the damage that you take. Here's the problem: is that I mean, not the damage that you take. You want to kill off bloodletters as well as you possibly can. So, like, the summons from the cultists will trade really well into you guys if you're not careful. So, I'm sort of keeping an eye on that. This is a nice sort of position for my opponent. You can see now he is starting to trade up. I do have a capture point, but you know what? I can probably just wait. Let's pull back with these spawn. Oh, and he rampages them. No. No, this is a good trade for my opponent, I would say. He's done quite well, and he's trying to bait me into this open field that I definitely don't want to take a fight in. But here's the thing. I might be able to start sniping his points, as I do have 2 dogs. We're going to summon them there. There's going to be a big fight here, so he's incentivized to summon and sort of assist in this scenario. And that'll mean that if I manage to triple cap him, we put him on a timer. So I do have that advantage, but of course I am also... I do have a ton of guys that are about to get surrounded here, which is obviously pretty terrifying. Oh, they unrampage. Sweet. Pull him back. Pull him back. I in no way want to take this fight right now. I want to stall into the high heavens. There we go. We're going to pull back. We're going to pull back into our little choke point here. No reason to rush. No reason at all to rush. All right, there we go. And I managed to steal this point too, which means that even though he's going to be getting the comeback mechanic, I should in theory be able to stop him from capping points for basically forever. Because look at these chokes. There's basically no way he's going to kill my lord. Dang it. That's not good. I pulled back everything except for my lord. Oh, well, that's really bad. Here's the thing, though. It's not the end of the world. I do have an advantage. That's so bad. That's so bad, losing your lord like that. That is catastrophic. Catastrophically bad. Jeez Louise. That is not a good thing. Here's the thing, though. I have managed to triple cap him. He's going to take a while to actually get these points. And there's a chance that he'll just take so long fighting my hordes and hordes of infantry. We should just win with a double cap. So I'm not especially worried, though I am a little bit worried because I did lose probably the most important tool in my army for nothing. But, you know, no problem. No problem. Yeah, points galore. My opponent has a huge point lead right now. Absolutely massive point lead. But look at this. Look at this. I do have the capture weight advantage. Let's see. I do need to leave some spawn here, and I probably want more halberds in the back here. I don't think he'll steal this point from me anytime soon, as we do have some infantry pouring on in. Let's see. My dogs are gonna rotate over to try and give him some pressure on that side, and we do have Furies that can pressure his dogs too. So I think overall we might just win off of a stalling game. Actually, this is looking to play out like that, but it really depends. Let's see. Furies need to go in here. Halberds we really want to hurt his dogs because it's gonna lessen their capture weight by a ton. I think the Furies are great for that. But we'll see. He's going for it. He's going real hard. But I think I have just enough damage here. There we go. That's very good. Oh my gosh. This is very, very good. Look at that. He did a huge commit with his dogs to try and steal the point from me. But I'm going to get a way superior engagement here with my forces. That means that we will be able to hold the point for a rather long time. There we go. All his dogs are routing. And I will have a unit of halberds here to stall. But the problem is that we are sort of on our way to getting army wiped, which I do not look forward to. There we go. He does steal the point. Eventually. And I have this sort of last point to deal with. So it's not over just yet, but I do have this back point here, which is going to give him trouble. And I will win off a single cap. The problem is that it's going to take a very long time for that to actually, for this to actually play out. And over the course of the battle, it's quite likely that he'll be able to army wipe here, to army wipe me. And then we're just screwed. So I do have to be very, very careful here. Still, though, I think with the bloodletters and my dogs pooling on here, I should be able to steal this point, and that'll make Zone's life much, much harder. I have spawn blocking him up. I have some more bloodletters in the way. We are stealing this point due to the higher HP on my doggos. So, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're still good, although this is going to be a very close fight indeed. There we go. I have managed to rout off his dogs. And it just comes down to this. How quickly can a man steal a point from another? This point is going to be my saving grace. This is going to basically ensure that I do get a fairly clean victory, as long as we do manage to hold it. I have a ton of units. And there we go. We actually have the capture. This is pretty huge. This is pretty huge. I have a lot of guys here that'll be able to hold. I have exalted bloodletters. I have very elite infantry. And Zone still isn't able to capture this back point. The Furies that got sent in to sort of bog him down have done amazingly. And then I have these dogs that are just sort of giving insane capture weight over here. They'll be able to rout off his own warhounds, which is great. And I have I even won over on this area, which is really big for me because it means that he basically won't be able to capture that back area. Nice. And all I have to do now is make sure that he never takes this point back, or essentially I make it as hard as humanly possible for him to steal that point back. And I don't think that'll be too difficult given the certain circumstances. Of course, these dogs, if they rout off, that would be very bad, but he doesn't have terror. And I think our plays may have done it. Despite trading rather badly, really badly, my opponent was a little bit too greedy, I would say. I think he took a tiny bit too long to steal the points. and I managed to abuse that in the end to just barely sneak the cap off of him. Very well played to my opponent, though. I think that was a very fun game. Very, very fun game indeed, Zone. Oh my gosh, you had me a run for my money, especially with that that kill on my Lord early on. That was huge. But I finally get a spawn that I can summon and throw onto this point. We did it! We did it! Oh my gosh. And the big gambit to summon 4 dogs to capture this point, I think did him in. That was a really big gambit, but I still had units there and they ended up taking way too much damage. But like it was a very nasty play. Like it could have just annihilated me. But now we just have to hold this point for 2 minutes. Technically, it's in the realms of possibility that my opponent still manages to win this, so I will have to be a little bit careful. Let's see here. Yeah, look at these dogs. They're rushing me. I need to get Furies to rout them off. The Furies are great versus dogs because they can basically dive in on them from anywhere. And now they've taken so much damage that I don't think they'll really be too much of a threat. My spawn took a lot of damage from the Flesh Hounds, but they'll have it high enough HP to get over here. And then, of course, I have my 2 dogs coming on in to support this fight as fast as humanly possible. There are some more Warhounds, and yeah, he went a little bit too greedy on the Warhounds, I think. That's hurting him. There we go. GG. GG. Oh, that was such a fun game. Now, comeback mechanic is janky because you have to play around it so much, but undeniably it does result in some pretty fun shenanigans. And yeah, I think my timing made up for the fact that I lost my Lord instantly. It didn't really matter that I was trading badly. The cannon did pretty well, but like, that was some fun back and forth with the dogs, man. I knew you really wanted to go for the cap points. Had you defended the back point with your 4 dogs, you would have won it. You would have won it, man. Oh my gosh. But that was very fun. I think honestly you should have taken the fight a bit earlier too, but man, oh man. Oh, so fun. Ah, geez, really well played, man. Oh boy, that was stressful. Most stressful game of the day today. By far. I think that was the closest game. But I did feel pretty comfortable towards the middle of it. Ah, geez, that was really good. Nothing makes me happier than a close domination game. Wow. Okay, let me grab some water. Oh man, Zone, you should match into me more on my win streak games. I feel like that'd be so fun. Cause you know, usually we miss out on training a lot, so this is a good time. Yeah, the back point steal. I think even if you do play for comeback points, you want to have at least 1 point. But there's so much nuance going on. There was tons of fighting. Oh my gosh. Now, what did you guys say? Oh, we're against Professor Pone. I don't want to meme up on him too hard with the Skull Crushers. I might just put them in reserves. Cause yeah, if we hard meme it, that would be a little bit rude, and he might just win versus us. Yeah, gotta go hydrate now. Yeah, loads of hydration. Here we go. Yeah, Blood Shrines stack with other effects. They do. But yeah, the big thing that happened in that game, I was focusing a lot. Oh, we got a Tzeentch. That's very exciting. But yeah, the thing about the Blood Shrines is that you they're really good for value trading, but Khorne at a certain point doesn't need that much more value. But they do stack, and it can be pretty good at times. At most, I would put your Lord on a Blood Shrine, because it's not too much of an investment. But yeah, pretty good. This time I will remember to put my cultists on horses. Actually, that makes them a bit easier to kill with blue fire, so let's not. We're on the Mountains of Morn, pretty fun map, and we're gonna change up the playstyle a little bit. We've had enough wins. It's Khorne. We can take it a little bit easy. I will go for a... we're gonna do a delayed engagement, so it's better if these guys are on summon. Over here, I'll go with... what's good here? What's even good? You know what? I'll throw a chariot on here. Why not? Yeah. We'll throw a chariot down. We'll give these guys... You know, honestly, the shields are probably better than the dual weapons. We'll just chevron them. Why not? Yeah, I'll just chevron them. Nice. And then over here, we can do this. Blood Crushers of Khorne. You guys love to see it. They have magic damage, which makes them okay against Tzeentch. They, yeah, that's basically it. They're very expensive. So they'll die to blue fire, and they'll die to most damage spells from Tzeentch. But given the right circumstances, they can do okay. So I'm going to experiment with them just a tiny little bit. Just the tiniest, most modest amount. You know what? I'll cut an exalted because they're sort of weaker here. Because you do want to have some sort of fury superiority going on. In fact, honestly, do I even need that much infantry? I don't even need that many spawn, funnily enough. Although they are strong here. I will go for, yeah, Flesh Hounds and Furies are amazing. In fact, you know what? We'll even cut the second spawn for more Furies. I think this is the way to go. This is basically I'm gonna kill Tzeentch type build rather than any other shenanigans. The plan is to just kill his entire army. Yeah, chariots. We did it. We got to chariots. Zone saying I'm happy to jump in from time to time. I will say, playing matches against you is the most fun thing just because of how crazy close they are. So good. So good. Speaking of, I should probably get more games on the training gym at some point. That's my separate Discord exclusively for multiplayer. It's just that I have so many projects I want to do. I still need to post videos on... I still need to post a ton of videos on what's it? On my good old... thinking is hard. I need to post videos for my... For the spell series. Jeez, that took so long. Yeah, for my spell series. I have so many spells I want to cover, and that naturally is going to take a lot of time because there's like a million spells. So hopefully I can sort of finish that off, and then I'll be able to start joining training again. Because Warhammer multiplayer is just a joy. Just a joy. As much as there are problems with the system, I do love this game so much. Now, chariots. Chariots versus Tzeentch are really interesting. A lot of people sort of get the idea that Tzeentch is a very shooty faction. But, strangely enough, Tzeentch is fairly weak to armor. And not many people would expect this. Chariots have 130 armor. Blues will do less than... They'll do like 20% normal damage. Like what they would do to blood letters, alright? 20%. You know how good 80% ward save is in campaign? Well, imagine that in multiplayer, right? It's huge. That's what this armor is doing. Against pinks, it's the same situation. Against exalted pinks, also the same situation. They're going to be very good. Looks like my opponent went for the Doom Knights, a little bit of an off-meta pick. Spawn and blues, much more normal, and an exalted flamer. This guy's going to be the only armor piercing that he has outside of his lord, which means this is priority target number 1. Either I pounce on him and lose a few units trying to kill him, or my opponent decides, or I go for killing his front line, which will let my spawn and chaos warriors kill this bad boy. We have some pretty nice options here. Let's see what my opponent decides to do. In the meantime, he is going to be cheesing me a little bit. Not cheese per se. It's just a terminology. It's not actually a bad thing to play this way. But he is going to be poking me with the blue fire. Coming in with the exalted Lord of Change. He's probably going to be sniping my chariots because they are, of course, very ripe for the picking. And the way to make that a bit harder is that we're going to be right-clicking here. He's going for my lord. Get wrecked. Trees are the strongest defensive thing in the entire world. I forgot. I shouldn't have taken a herald because he gets sniped by this guy, but trees are actually OP, so we're fine. There's a pink fire. Like I said, Tzeentch, very bad versus armor. Does a mighty... like 0 damage, only 150 value. So overall, I think we're already feeling quite comfortable. He's going to deploy here, and I do want to take a fight versus him because I think my army benefits from just army wiping him. We do have the money for Blood Crushers of Khorne, so there is that. There is that for all you people that are excited about that. It's going to launch another blue fire, actually lands on the herald this time, which means it is now time to evacuate the forests. He is on his mount. which does make him a bit more susceptible to getting blued. But yeah, basically we're just going to take a fight here. I'm going to summon a bunch of chariots, a bunch of furies, and then that's more or less just going to wipe them out. I will skimp on the Hellforged Host because they are very weak to blues. Of course, I wish I could get more infantry going, but this is sort of the way we have to do things. Harold's going to beeline it for the forest, and then he's going to see a pretty nasty surround coming in a second. Yeah, today the trees love Khorne. It's crazy. You know what? He's getting a lot of damage on my lord. I'm just going to desummon him because it gives me way more money. And I don't think he's honestly going to do too much anyways in this situation. The Doom Knights, they will be landing on the chariots. They do a little bit of poke on the charge and not much else. Not much else. Although that was a good play from my opponent. He did get a nice disengage, so well played over there. Now, like I said, we just have to take a fight so decisively that he's literally just dead after. I think what we want is, you know, funnily enough, the Blood Crushers will actually be useful here against Tzeentch. They are high armored. They will be able to get quite a bit of damage in. I'm just gonna go ahead and march forwards with my cultists real quick. He's summoning in some screamers. He wants to go for the multi-point capture, and this should be a pretty nice advantage for me. There we go. He's captured the first point. We're not too worried about comeback mechanic here. I think I will win quite decisively in this area, so I'm not too worried about that. Hellforged Host is actually armored, so I will summon them. And then I'm thinking my cavalry go in through the back, the chariots go in through the middle along with the Hellforged Host. The cultists will engage early to get their summons off. And then as soon as my infantry is in place, we'll just march right on in. Should be good. I have about 4 different attack angles. 5 if I move in from here. I think we're pretty happy about how things are shaping up. He does have spawn, so I will have to worry about that. He's also moving forwards, which is an interesting choice. Do I engage now? It is a little bit of an awkward timing, but I think this is to my favor. Let's try it out. Let's try it out. We will start summoning dogs. You'll notice I'm summoning dogs very often when it comes to... by the way, I'm giving my opponent a lot more respect this game because he is a stronger player than most ladder folk. So I'm not going to be just, you know, fooling around super hard. But yeah. Yeah, I will be summoning... I always summon my dogs as a sort of a good safety measure. Or not a safety measure. I summon dogs so that they can get into the fight at about the same time that everything else does. That's just generally a good idea for them. Loads of summons on these guys will do great for us. And then starting to summon Furies to catch his Screamers, which are going to be punishing my chariots quite a bit. I will say he did have some pretty nice anti-chariot tech. But with just a few of them starting to slip through the cracks, I think this battle will be mine. Look at that. We're starting to value trade. Nice. And especially with those poor Doom Knights. I gotta say, Doom Knights are... I don't feel them. I'm not gonna lie, Doom Knights, yeah, they never really feel too great. But you can tell that this sort of bottom area is going very rough for my opponent now. I have Furies. I could send them in on this guy, Exalted, but that would actually make them quite vulnerable. Instead, I would much rather just use, I would rather them kill the Chaos Spawn a bit faster, as that'll let the rest of my army perform better. That's a fairly important choice, and the much sturdier Warhounds can harass this guy, and that should work out quite a bit better. With the Screamers being summoned, that's where I will send my Furies. And then, now it just comes down to Chariot Micro. Where are these bad boys? Let's pull them through and get them into some better cycle charging scenarios. They will most likely want to kill off those Blazing Squealers. And then I think we're good. We've captured a point, which means that we are now leading in terms of victory points if status quo is maintained. We are trading up into our opponent now, or at least even, though he has killed off my lord, which does mean that, I did desummon my lord, which means that I did lose a bit of value there, but overall, I think we're doing quite well. Let's see. You know what? More Furies. Furies are going to be crushing it in this battle. And then the Chariots want to harass this Exalted over here. There we go. This fight's starting to last a bit too long. I have a few too many units committed here, so I'm just going to force path them away. Almost in the nick of time to dodge that ability. although a tiny bit slow, and that's going to be punishing me a little bit. My opponent's going to be trading fairly evenly with me throughout this game, but as long as I don't get army wiped, I should be fine. Oh, but I do take a huge loss on my chariots, though. Oh my gosh, we just lost both chariots. That's quite bad. That's quite bad. My that was a misplay if I've ever seen one. But we're okay. We're totally fine. I'll be summoning Spawn in a second since they do much better once everything else is sort of a mess. So they should be able to support this fight quite handily. And I can start looking at chat because I think we have a lead. I think we've successfully pulled a lead against our opponent now. Oh man. Random Nick saying, I saw it was Khorne wind farming and knew there would be no losses. Khorne's pretty scary, though, you know, we did get no losses with Cathay. So, I don't know, maybe Cathay's just the best faction in the game and we don't know it. The flank was pretty nasty. I think my, Professor Pone held up pretty well in this match. He was trading quite evenly, but now we're sort of starting to pull a nice lead against him. Essentially, I just have to make sure that I don't run out of units by the end of the game. My cavalry, you know, they did okay. They did okay. You know, it was nothing special, but you know, they did some damage. It's not like the cavalry were terrible. I'm not gonna say that they won me the game by any means, but you know, it did a little bit. Oh, poor cavalry. I really can't bring myself to love Skull Crushers, man. I really can't. This Exalted Flamer is actually starting to pull back in value too, but we're gonna start to capture his other points now to just really ensure that we don't run into too much trouble. I need to be really careful with these Exalted Bloodletters though, because there's a very nice chance that they just straight up die to my opponent, and I definitely wouldn't want that. Come on, doggos, get that capture point. He's gonna summon a few more blues, which means that he is hurting for money now. That's quite good, and that means if I keep the pressure on, we should be able to win it then. If he's hurting for money, then I just sort of have to keep trading into him, and as long as I'm trading evenly, he'll slowly get ground down. Is the theory, anyways. Hashtag Cathay sweep, sick. I love it. There we go. Oh, I think he friendly fired his flamers. No idea what happened there, but they just took tons of damage. And now the power of Khorne invested in me will activate. In that we've traded fairly evenly, but Khorne, being a melee rush faction, has a lot more pushing power. So you can see the value trading was actually almost dead even. Both of us barely got any comeback points, but like I said, Khorne is a faction that is very happy to trade evenly. Trading evenly is like beautiful for Khorne, because he'll always be pushing you back. If you want to trade up into Khorne, you have to be kiting away, and that will be the doom of my opponent. Maybe we'll see. Did I cap this point yet? I didn't. That's a bit of a misplay. I should have captured this point, but you know what? I'll pretend it's comeback mechanics, even though I'm not getting any yet. And then we'll be just fine. Come on, Spawn. Just touch the point. Just touch the darn point and you're fine. Of course, these dogs could be helping in this fight, but at this point, I think I've pulled enough of a lead where I'm not too worried. We're sort of just chilling now. Because now my opponent has to retake a bunch of points. And he just doesn't have that many units left. Look at the trading. All of his value is stuck in his Lord, and his Lord sadly cannot capture points. As much as he wants to, even if he's on the ground, he just refuses to do anything useful. And that's going to be mostly the win for me, I think. We'll summon another Spawn, because my opponent doesn't have the critical mass of blues that he needs to actually clear me out. When it comes to Spawn, and then we can sort of just keep fighting here in the back until we've won the game. Nice. Do you get comeback bonuses even when you're losing on value? You get it when you're losing on victory tickets alone. You can be up dramatically in value and still get comeback. And that's sort of one of the main problems. We've talked with CA about it. Terran seems fairly convinced that Creative Assembly is going to change it, so I think that's a good sign at least, but there's no guarantees just yet, sadly. I think my opponent played very well this game too, especially with being able to force me to desummon my lord. But the trading's just a little bit too even, and I managed to push him off early on. Well played, though. Very well played. Let's see. Fat saying, at Enticity, glad I caught this. Really enjoy my content. Keep it up. Thank you very much, man. The kind comments in chat are really nice, guys. It's really nice. I'm not gonna get into the weeds of it, but it's really good to see people happy. Oh, I will say. The multiplayer community is rife with a lot of people that are quite salty about the game. It's just like nice comments all the time. It's amazing. Oh man, there we go. Cheering up while we just rip Professor Pone's heart out. Yes, another victory. Blood for the Blood God. Now, that was a pretty fun game. I think I was pretty confident throughout the most of it, but he did almost get a pretty nice lead with those flamers. I think his flamer play was really good. Can we get a guess on the value on the Doom Knights real quick? I see 6 kills. I'm guessing the Doom Knights got less than 300 value. Less than 300 value. Can we take a look real quick? Can I take a look real quick? Oh, look at that. 700. That's double the almost no value than I thought they would. Look at that. They paid for like a third of themselves. That's a lot more than usual. Quite good. Quite good. I think the kills on the chariots definitely helped, but yeah, pretty fun game. Pretty fun game. My chariots, I think my chariot micro I could probably work on. And the blood crushers, you know, they did sort of like equal to the Doom Knights. So like when you compare the prices, maybe a bit better. So, you know, they did okay. They did okay. Oh man, but yeah, very fun games today, guys. That was the 6th win. Pretty nice Khorne win farming today. I will be continuing multiplayer tomorrow with the Ogre Kingdoms, guys. The Ogre Kingdoms, they're coming. And it's going to be tomorrow at this time. After which I'm going to take a break on Saturday, and we'll be continuing the win farming streams because honestly, they're just far too fun. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. GG to Professor Pone. Thank you to everyone coming in to watch today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to open my door because it is like 50 degrees outside and I am actually melting. And yes, that is in Celsius. It's insane.